This video is part of a monthly Asterix Patreon series where a patron suggests a work and I make a short video on what I thought the most interesting thing about it was. If you have something you want to suggest, please consider supporting me over there. The climax of episode 5 of Trigun is the first real turning point of the show. Vash reveals his true colors and valor in this scene, saving the very town who was trying to kill him earlier. Meryl has to finally face the facts, with undeniable proof that the clownish goofball of a man she's been running into is none other than Vash the Stampede. It shows the collapsing of two facades, the one Meryl had of a clueless idiot who escapes death by nothing but sheer luck, and the societal one of a cold gunman who leaves nothing but death and destruction in his path. This scene lays the foundation for the complexities of Vash's character. His fighting style, his pacifist philosophy, his mysterious backstory, the very core of the setting itself. And Meryl is forced to reevaluate what that means for her, her company, and indeed the entire world moving forward. In the anime. Because in the manga, not only is this scene the first time Meryl has ever met Vash, it's the first time the audience has as well. Filler is a strange word, because its meaning changes depending on which community is using it. I've gone into detail before about my thoughts on how it applies to long-running franchises like Dragon Ball, where the anime original content arises from the need to maintain pace with the also ongoing source material. But Trigun shows us a different case, of a more traditional adaptation that only has so much original material to work with. Because according to animefillerlist, aka the worst site on the internet, Trigun is made up of a whopping 65% filler. Damn, not even Twinkies have that much shit in them. So, how did we get here? The original Trigun manga was published between April 1995 and January 1997 in Monthly Shonen Captain. Until suddenly, without any notice from management, the magazine went under and all stories were put on indefinite hiatus. This was particularly bad for Trigun because Chapter 20, the final chapter published in Monthly Shonen Captain, ended on quite possibly the literal worst cliffhanger, ever, god damn. Luckily, Trigun was one of the few stories that managed to get a continuation in another magazine later that year, now publishing under the title Trigun Maximum. During this hiatus, a previous editor of Shonen Captain brought the manga and Naito, the original mangaka, to the attention of Ninja Scroll producer blah 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 blah. What's his name? Kitayama Shigeru. The original idea was to produce an OVA, but once pitched to Madhouse, who had faith in the concept, it managed to get greenlit as a 26-episode television adaptation. This, however, presented a little bit of a problem. The manga blitzes through its plot points at a mere 3 volumes, and at the time, Maximum had only just started publishing. So the screenwriter, Kuroda Yosuke, restructured the story, pulling from basically everything available at the time. Every story in the original 20 chapters, the first few chapters of Maximum, the original pilot, and even some of the bonus omake side stories, and molded them to fit his new structure. Some of the more comedic stories were moved up earlier in the timeline, the last act was unavoidably an anime original conclusion, and most interestingly to me, the beginning was front-loaded with comedic, bounty hunter, town of the week style filler. Now, comedic filler is hardly uncommon, but it's usually inserted into the middle, deep into the throes of the narrative, where the audience is hopefully already invested. But the Trigun anime gambles with it on its very first episode, and this results in 2 versions of the same story, with very different narrative flows. The manga is very upfront about its serious elements. Comedic relief is frequent, but the July incident is on the very first page. Vash is a lot less naive about the world. Rem knives and the truth behind the plants are all introduced relatively early. The anime reshapes things into an unfolding mystery, a light-hearted adventure show that has its tone shift, slowly but surely. Kuroda stated that he shifted the perspective to make Meryl more of the protagonist, our viewpoint into this world, and allowing for the great depths of Vash's character to be explored more gradually. This filler, contrasted with the later drama, shows that as much as Vash might try to laugh off and forget his past, he can't run away from it, and his pacifist ideals are not without consequences or blood on his hands. Not only that, but viewing it from the lens of a normal citizen allows for seeing more of the general culture of the planet beyond the influence of the plants. What they do for food, water, and shelter. How it shaped politics, class, and culture. Individual stories of the everyday people who live on this harsh planet. Getting to know more about the land, and more importantly the people, gives greater weight to the big twists and turns and tragedies that unfold throughout the story, and makes exactly what Vash is fighting for into something real. And for the record, Nightor was a fan, stating that he felt that it was able to tie everything into its own original story whilst using the themes and motifs that he wanted to continue using in Maxim. I think anime and manga fans sometimes don't realize exactly how good they've got it when it comes to adaptation. There's basically nothing else in the world that consistently interprets mediums with the same level of faithful and accurate portrayals of stories as manga to anime adaptations. Consider the general accuracy of a book to a movie, or a comic book to a cartoon. Even the best of them tend to pale in comparison to the exact panel for cut translations that are taken for granted in the Japanese pipeline. Not only are lists like the one on animefillerlist petty and arbitrary, they're also inaccurate and ultimately not useful. Not only does it discount episodes that are based on those pilot and bonus chapters that I talked about, it also counts the episodes Fifth Moon and Rem Savarum, episodes that contain one of the biggest plot events in the entire story that kickstart a 2-year time skip, and an episode that reveals basically the entire backstory of the, well, fucking whole show, as filler due to being admittedly fairly different takes on scenes and stories that are directly taken from the manga. If you were to skip them, which is ostensibly the point of such guides, you would have absolutely no idea what's going on for the rest of the series. And speaking of which, it also counts the entire anime original conclusion as filler because it's not in the manga, so if you wanted closure to your story, then fuck you, I guess. According to sites like this, Trigun is 65% filler. But it is exactly that filler that makes the Trigun anime as brilliant as it is. Rather than vilify all filler on pure principle alone, maybe it's better to look at each work a little more thoroughly and try to understand exactly what was being filled in the first place.